We are now live.
And this is To Build a Fire by Jack London, part 2, because in the middle of the recording we had a power cut here to the whole town. So so I just disappeared very rudely. I didn't even say goodbye, I just disappeared.
I think it was nationwide because a friend of mine in Wirral, which is outside Liverpool for people who don't know, was also experiencing problems, and that's how we even found out that Gerald is gone. And then Maya said, "Do you think Anonymous did it because they were mad about the election results?" I'm like, ooh.
I was all conspiracy theorist over here. Yeah, it was kind of funny because, you know, when we're doing the recording, we don't have any other windows, and so we were totally clueless. And then when I got on, I looked at the map of the power outage. It was huge. It was absolutely huge power outage.
Okay.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and finish up the episode, and, you know, for the actual podcast, I'll do my movie magic behind the scenes, and have a great podcast anyway. And where do we leave off? We left off, we were talking about theme as far as what we thought the story meant. And we had pretty much covered, like, the basic theme. But let's dig in a little bit further and see, you know, what additional themes did you guys see in the story, if any?
Yeah, we were talking about the theme of pride. I think that that the guy was a newcomer to the area. He was advised not to go alone, but he went anyway. He could tell from the actions of the dog, because we like the dog.
Yes, we all like the dog. The dog has common sense.
I said to Anais, I was listening to the bit that after I disappeared last week when you said you didn't like the guy, so the dog was fine. So yeah, even the dog was giving him messages about the environment, and he said, "No, I know best. It's just a bit cold." So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of where we were, I think.
So, what all did you like about the story? Like, in particular, when you looked at the story, Gerald, it was obvious that you liked it right away. You had spoken previously that you liked the repetition, because Anais didn't really care for the repetition of cold. So, what was it about the story that actually pulled you in?
I think because the descriptions of the environment were, yes, it's he said cold a number of times, but the descriptions of the environment were so realistic, and I was with him. I could see what he was seeing, and I liked the fact that as the story went on, the tension built. There were little things that were going wrong that I know from sort of interesting mountaineering, that you know, he was starting to feel problems with the extremities of his limbs, so that frostbite was beginning to attack him. So I just, you know, I just read straight through. I just loved it. It was a really good story. So yeah, it was that sort of realism and that dragging me into the environment and wanting to know what was happening and what was going to happen.
I love how you mention the specificity of, you know, him having his extremities go cold, starting to get
Sorry,
frostbite.
I'm not recording this. Sorry, I just realised. Sorry.
Oops, yeah.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Me too. I just realized. Okay, there it is.
Yes. So,
Oh, me too. Shit.
We're just in such a rush. We're so cut time. Gerald and I have an hour.
Oh, geez.
Oh my goodness, that is too funny. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath. Everybody just take a deep breath.
We will finish this thing.
Okay, that's okay. We're just going to start with what it was that we liked most about the story. Mm-hmm. I will start just to get us going. One of the things I really liked about the story was the specificity of all the different symptomologies that the person went through as he was dying. So, for me, what got me was his mental state slowly deteriorating was done in a really realistic way. How he looked at the dog and he considered killing the dog, and then the dog, like, he couldn't kill the dog because he couldn't use his hands, and so he's holding on to the dog, and then he lets go of the dog, like his only source of warmth, he gives up and lets go. That is the first sign that he's mentally deteriorating. And I love how, like, the whole, like, I would say last third of the story, he's gradually, like, getting less and less mentally competent until he just gives up and dies. And I found that really realistic and well done. Because I'm actually writing a story where I'm trying to show somebody, like, going through mental stuff like that. And that's very difficult. And I feel like it's something you can't really write unless you've almost died. And and it's so realistic when you read that, and then you compare it to people when they've talked about almost dying, people that have had near-death experiences and stuff. It just seems really realistic.
Yeah,
I think.
Sorry, Anais. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I was going to say that for me, the last third of the story was probably the best part. And I think it's a little bit because that's where the action was. Because I think the first 2/3, I was struggling with two things. The image in my mind wasn't changing a lot. Not that Jack London can't paint a good picture. He can. It's just what he was painting for me was very static for the first 2/3 of the story. And also I struggled with his voice, the way that he writes. It, for some reason, just wasn't resonating with me. Like, I feel like if a writer whose voice I liked did this story in a very similar way, I probably would have liked it more. So I think my issue is just more with London's voice and the no action for a lot of the story.
So what parts of the story did you like? Because we're definitely going to go into the problems that the story had in just a moment. But was there, you mentioned that the last part of the story that you actually did like that more because it had more action. Was there anything else in the story that attracted you to it, or was that pretty much it?
Well, there were some images also that once I was used to the way that Jack London is speaking and narrating the story, then I could sort of visualize a little bit better what he was saying. So I noticed in the beginning I was struggling, but later, like little things, like the chewing tobacco spit on the beard, like that was freezing on the beard, like that was very clear for me. When he's building the fire, the hand numbness, so that was really effective, and I like that.
And Gerald, how about you? What was it that you liked most about the story? Things that really attracted you to it?
I think the way that Jack London painted the picture, I've already mentioned about the repetition of the word coal, which did jar me a little bit at the start, but that was just to hammer in the underlying message. And I like the fact that he painted a really clear picture of the environment, so that I was with the character in his environment and with his struggles. And I liked the fact that for me there was tension from the start. I felt that it was a harsh environment, and it was going to be a tough trip for him. So there was tension there, and the way that the cold was affecting parts of his body, and he was starting to feel numb, which I realised is the beginnings of frostbite. So I'm just thinking, it's not going well for him, and it's not going to end well, I don't think so. So yeah, I was just totally dragged into the story and the tension. I just wanted to, I wanted to finish it to see what happened.
Yeah. Well, now it's to Anais's favorite part of this particular episode. What's wrong with the story, Anais? Take it away!
Well, I already talked about how he went on for a while with not much changing, the repetition of cold. In the bonus material, Maya and I briefly talked about the character. We didn't empathize with him. I did not care at all that he died, which is horrible. Like, that doesn't happen. And it's funny because I cared more that the dog is now alone, and maybe he's not going to make it if he gets caught out there at night. Even a dog might not be okay. But I remember reading it and I had this moment where I'm like, I'm an animal lover. But sometimes when I'm talking to other animal lovers and they think that they have like an accomplice, they're like, if I was at the beach and there was an animal drowning or a human drowning, I'd save the animal. I'm still somebody who would normally save the human. Like I'm still a bit more of a humanist. So it really surprised me when I just did not care. And I'm wondering if Gerald cared.
Yeah, I cared. He was not a nice character. He was not. Yes, I think I had more empathy with the dog.
I think we were supposed to.
Yeah,
I think we were supposed to have more empathy with the dog. Jack London, how many stories has he written about a dang dog? And it's the dogs are always better people than the people are. So I don't think that is necessarily something wrong with the story. I think that is part of the point of the story. And maybe it's a point that you're not enjoying, but yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with you for having more empathy with the dog. You're not a bad person, Anais.
I mean, seeing it your way, where that's Jack London's intention. He successfully got me to not care about the person. That's a bit harsh. Why am I not supposed to care? Because he had all this hubris and it led to his downfall, and he was trying to control nature with fire and thought he was bigger than big bad nature. Okay. That's why it's written in such a way where I'm supposed to just be like, well, you got what you deserve. That seems harsh, It's kind of like.
I don't think it's a matter of he got what he deserved. Like when I look at the character, and you're right, Annie. In the bonus material, we have not been talking enough about character. We've been really focusing on the big picture and on theme, and I think it's time that we start getting into more about character. As we're 15 stories in now, I think we're ready. And when I look at this character, I see a man of a type that I don't think we see very often anymore. I've dated guys like this manly man, and they are quirky. And there are good sides to them, and then there are sides to them you're just like, really? And that's how I see him. He's a throwback. He's this old-fashioned manly man, and so it isn't even so much that I don't care about him. It's just that I care about the dog more because the dog has been abused and because the dog has some common sense and because we get into the dog's mind a little bit, so I have empathy for the dog. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I do have empathy for the man. It's just that I don't have this huge, abiding love for this grumpy old Alaskan guy, what was it? I just heard a joke. It was so funny. I just heard a joke, and they were like, Alaska, the place where the women are men and the men are animals. And kind of like how I was picturing this story, and here he is, he's gruff, he's got this hubris, but I don't think his hubris is unwarranted. I think he has his hubris because he has to in that type of environment to survive. You have to have a certain level of I can do it, I'm capable of anything in order to live in that type of environment. It's just that he's too disconnected from the environment to really to use all of his senses. He's only using some of his senses. If he had been a woman out there, when you're talking about throwbacks, if he had been the stereotypical woman who's perhaps more aware of the surroundings, it would have been possibly a very different story. But I think the point of the story is that he is disconnected, but that disconnection makes it so that you have less empathy for him. Maybe if we'd read this when it was written, we might have had more empathy because we would have been surrounded by guys like this.
Possibly. Actually, as I heard you talking, I realized something you said for some reason made me think, and actually there's something else going on here too. He's not really a fully defined person. He's sort of just like man trying to control nature. Like he's kind of like he's standing in for every kind of a mountaineer person, but we don't even know why he's out there. Like, why are you even out there in this freezing cold weather? Like, we know nothing about his ambitions or his goals, what he wants to do, why he lives there. So because of that, I think there's also, you're not rooting for him because you don't know what to root for.
True.
There is that, and I think there's it's not necessarily a bad thing that the empathy character is a dog. I think we sort of conditioned to feel that we would have empathy with human beings, and dogs are just ancillary characters. But
Thank you.
but the the real hero. The dog's really got character, I think, far more character than he has, and he is just this guy who's stupid. I think from reading about Jack London, I think he was probably in the gold rush, going up there to seek his fortune, and he was going to meet up with his buddies at this camp. So. And this was, I think he was just totally unused to the environment, and just thought he knew better. So,
yeah, I like that you said that we are conditioned to expect that the main character is going to be the human, and I instantly had a flash of like Watership Down or Animal Farm, and yeah, in this story, the dog did, even though the dog was. There were fewer lines about the dog. The lines that were about the dog told you a lot about the dog's character. One of the things that struck me about the story is typically dogs are portrayed as man's best friend. In these types of stories, the dog saves the guy in the mountains, in the avalanche, or he brings him the brandy when he's freezing cold, or whatever. All those stupid stories that we've grown up with. And in this story, it turns that idea on the head, because here's his dog, he's loyal, but he's not man's best friend, he's man's slave. And I found that really refreshing and wonderful, because it's not a perspective I've seen a lot when you're talking about stories of men with dogs. To admit that this dog isn't loyal because he loves you, because he's thinking the best of you, he's loyal because you're mean and you treat him badly, and he is submissive to you. And that was something I really enjoyed about the story too.
And I was going to say, when Gerald said that the dog is the empathy character, it got me thinking, well, what makes him the empathy character? And I think there's two things. It's emotion and motive, because with the dog, he's scared. You see when he's scared. The man's going through frostbite, and there's no line where, like, he's scared he's going to die. At no point does the man, we don't care and he doesn't care. And the dog also has motive, because, even if you're wondering why is the dog staying, because he knows man makes fire and he needs fire. So also now why the dog is here. We don't really know why the man is here either.
No,
wow, that is really a good insight, because I hadn't made that connection, but you're totally right on why it is that we have so much empathy for the dog.
And the relationship between the humans and the dogs in this sort of environment, with the particularly with Inuit, the dog is a servant.
He's not a friend.
No, they sleep outside in the freezing cold, all huddled together. You throw them a hunk of raw meat at the end of the day, and they just work and work and work. So it's that sort of environment where the dog, there is no relationship between them, because the dog does as the man says. But
and it isn't necessarily, it's not a moral statement. It's the difference between a pet and a working employee or tool. I think you're going to find a similar relationship in a lot of farms perhaps, or areas where dogs are really part of the economy rather than a friend. I remember as a kid, actually, this is going to sound really bad. I remember as a kid hearing jokes that black people would make about white people and their dogs, and about how small their dogs were and how they let them kiss on them, and there was a sense that it's a dog. It's not like your pet, it's not your child, it's your dog. And it just really was a difference in culture. And that's changed in the last 2 decades. But I do remember that as a child, and the joke, why would you have a dog if it's not big enough to protect you? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's just very much is a cultural thing. And so for me, it isn't a moral judgment. But you're right, Anais. That's why I instantly have more empathy for the dog, because I do know his motivation, and I understand more about his character and why he's there and what he's feeling, whereas the man, not so much.
And also, a couple of points I noticed, I noted down that when Jack London gets into the head of the dog, so he becomes a point of view character, he talks. The narration gets very, I don't know how to describe it other than dog-like, or sort of sub-intellectual because he refers to throat sounds of the man who's shouting at him, and also calls him fire provider. So I think Jack, and I've not read Jack London before, so it's
Oh, you
interesting to hear.
haven't? Oh.
It's interesting to hear that you say he often features dogs in his
Yes.
stories.
That's a really
I
good
also
insight.
loved that he spoke with a whip. Because we think about speaking, you have to be authoritative, but how would that come off on the other end? And he's whipping him with his voice. I love that visual. I wonder, growing up, I read Call of the Wild, I read White Fang, which were both dog stories from Jack London. And I'm wondering if Jack London was a people person or if he was a dog person. Because I'm starting to get the sense that maybe Jack London just holed up in his little cabin in Santa Rosa and just didn't talk to people and had a bunch of dogs, like the Hemingway on the flip side. And I'm just like, because all of his dogs have this much personality. They are all, and at the same time, he's not making them human. He's not anthropomorphizing them. Like, their voice still sounds like a dog voice, which is part of what I love. But it's like a really intelligent child voice. It's like the language is more simple. It's a little slower. The thoughts are more simple, but the thoughts are very intuitive and much deeper than you would expect, out of like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. And so, yeah, that dog voice is very present and strong to me.
Yeah. Go dog.
Good dog. So, Anais, have we convinced you to like it a little more, or do you still hate the story?
I mean, I'm still probably going to score it low when we get to Bradbury's, because even though I like the theme, even though there's all these things about it that I think are I think in the hands of a writer whose voice I liked more, I would have enjoyed it more. I'm still going to be like, sorry, Jack London, I'm not a fan.
Okay.
My heart, be still, my heart. So is there anything else you guys want to talk about the story? Are we ready to rate it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's rate this puppy. We're doing it out of 6 Bradburys. I'm going to give it 5.5 Bradburys.
Whoa.
I love this story. I really, really love the story. It was slow. It was developing. It had the tension. I was in it. I was cheering, and then I was cursing. And I love a story that makes me curse out loud. Like, I was like, you idiot! That to me is a sign of a great story. And I love how emotionally involved I got in the story as it went on. I didn't necessarily have to like the character, but I found him interesting. And so, yeah, I give it 5.5 Bradburys.
I'll go next. I'll give it 5.5 also, for pretty much the same reasons. I loved the story. It wasn't... Yeah, it wasn't. I wouldn't give it 6 because it didn't have the depths that I'd be looking for in a sort of a more literary story. But
yeah, the sky didn't open up and the harps didn't play.
No. But really enjoyed it. So to Anais.
Yeah, I mean, the number I have written down in my little notebook is 2. After this conversation, I'm tempted to give half a point more for the dog, because he's great.
Wow.
Oh, I love it. So what is your final verdict? Are you going to give him that extra half a point, or are you going to stick with the 3?
No, I've started doing this thing where I'm going to give it the number that I had after reading it, not after discussing it, just because I feel like that's the more organic how I felt, and it's a 2. Sorry.
It almost makes you wonder if we should do a pre-Bradbury and a post-Bradbury.
With a reason. Plus 5 dog.
Because these conversations do there have been a couple stories where I kind of had mixed feelings about a story, and then after hearing you guys talk about it, I understood a little better or whatever. That's really funny. Okay, so next week, gonna submit some stories.
Last week's
Oh, last week.
Last week's Strawberries. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Last week we discussed The Veldt by Ray Bradbury, and our listeners gave it a 4.25.
That's good. That's good.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I really love that story. And I love the comments from your mom. Your mom had some great comments on the story. I enjoyed them quite a bit.
I liked her conspiracy theory that what if the nursery room was like sentient and was turning on the
It was like manipulating the children. I was like, oh, she's like gone there.
She's writing a new story. Move over, Ray Bradbury.
I kind of like that story, actually.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really good idea. Who knows?
So for next week, I would like to submit another Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie story because I really, really, really want to read one. This one is called Birdsong. It's in the New Yorker.
Okay. And I'm submitting The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula K. Le Guin. I recently, like a few months ago, read Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. I love her. I love her voice and her ideas, so I want to read more.
Okay. So I'm running the game today, and I'm so excited for this game.
Oh, no, that's never good when he starts giggling like that. He just sounds way too pleased to torture us.
It's actually very, very simple.
Famous last words. You always say that. Yeah, it's very simple. We're going to count to 1 to 5, and still you screw up at 3. Here we go.
Okay, we've got. What I've got is a number of bands, music bands, rock bands, that sort of thing, and I want you to give me the final word of their band name. It's quite simple. Oh,
we're both looking at you like you've got to be freaking kidding me.
No, Anais is looking very excited. You're looking less than excited.
This is a lie. I laughed through the fear.
Uh-oh.
I used to listen to a lot of music, and I don't anymore.
No, but you've listened to me. It's not current bands. So well, all of them anyway.
So it's even harder.
I can hardly remember the names of my favorite bands. I just remember their songs. Okay.
We're both
Let's do this. That's okay because I like Le Guin. So here we go.
Do what? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down the list. It's not a sort of first mistake and you're out sort of thing. There's a big long list, and I'll score points as and when. So looking at the screen, Anais is on the left, so she's first. Nice and simple. Guns and
Roses.
Yay! The Rolling
Stones.
Nay. There you go. See, I told you it was all right.
For now.
Lead.
Zeppelin.
Very good. The Grateful
Dead.
There you see. Deep.
Deep.
Oh!
Am I too young?
Yeah, you are.
Maybe,
You're
yeah.
too young.
Yeah. I don't know. Deep. Sea. I have no idea.
Maya?
Forest.
No, it's purple.
Oh, there's another band, Deep Forest.
Is there? Not
Yeah.
on my list, there isn't.
Well, in my list there is, and it was awesome. It was awesome, like world music.
Who's doing this game, me or you?
I don't know.
So, Anais, back to you. Pearl.
Jam.
E. Maya, Pink.
Floyd.
Yeah. Anais, Alice in.
Chains.
Correct. Maya. Oh, hang on. Where? I got this mixed up. Never mind. The Foo.
Fighters.
Yeah. Oh, it's an old one. Creedence Clearwater.
Revival.
Yay! Excellent. Maya, Motley.
Crew.
Okay. Anais Van.
Hold on. I should know this one. Get out of my head, Vampire Slayer. It's not you.
Whippersnapper.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't make it appear.
Millennials.
I know this.
I know
like
you.
Hair bands. Right.
At least you got something right. Oh, when we say it, you're gonna laugh.
I can't make it materialize. I know, it's like right there. It's right there. I can't make it materialize.
Maya?
Halen.
Yay.
Halen! I couldn't
Van
get
Halen
Helen out of my head. I was
You're
like,
like-
oh, Hugh Jackman. There you are.
I think that was a vampire movie.
Yeah, Van Helsing.
Oh, and here we are. We have, well, that's the end of the quiz. I had some tiebreakers in case we were tied.
Oh, we got them all?
I think Maya won.
Mostly.
Maya got one more than me.
She did. It's 6 to Maya and 5 to Anais.
Woohoo!
Maya won the
Woohoo!
quiz.
Woohoo! I'm so excited that I just can't hide it.
So the story, Maya, calm down. So the story we're going to be reading next week is
Bird Song by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and
To join the discussion, visit literaryrroadhouse.com. I also encourage you to leave a quick iTunes review and tell us your favorite short stories so far. Your reviews and help others find our podcast. Don't forget to tell your friends, and until next time, read a good story.
yay, we did it. I'm probably going to re-record my complete butchering of that wonderful author's name. I don't know why I can't pronounce her name. It's like a tongue twister.
And maybe we record the explanation of the cutout, since we lost that wasn't being recorded, of Gerald losing